What up, guys? Welcome to the Audacity Network and welcome to the Sitdown. Today, I have my favorite author.
Favorite?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
My number one draft pick on the show. I reference his book all of the time, A World Without Men. But you have what, 5 books on the market?
No, I got 10.
Oh my gosh, you have 10?
Yeah. It goes, first one predates the housing crash, predicting it. So that was 2007,
You
2008.
predicted the housing crash?
Yeah. A lot of people did, but no one listened to us.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was my first book, 2007, 2008.
Wow.
So that was, yeah. And then 9 real books after that. I have a couple other like compendiums that aren't, like just backup of the blog.
Okay.
But yeah, the real book's about 10.
Wow. Well, welcome to the show, Aaron
Thank you.
Clary. Before we start, where can the people find you?
My main website is assholeconsulting.com.
Okay.
I
like the name.
Yes. And then the YouTube channel, you just find Aaron Clary on YouTube. And then my blog, which no one blogs anymore, but you can find my archives at captaincapitalism.blogspot.com.
Awesome. So you're an economist. That's your background.
I was, yes.
Okay. So when did you start doing that?
Technically, when I was 21.
Okay.
I was an intern. I was a sovereign risk analyst and assistant to sovereign risk analyst. And I covered Asian countries.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like my first real work into it. Then I went into banking, credit analyst route, inevitably banker, and then also economist for a bank, small bank, but ended up working as an economist in a bank as well.
And I've heard you say that economists are full of shit.
They're full of shit.
Okay, why?
Because it's not, it's like therapy or the psychology industry. Okay. All right.
Wait, economics is as bad as the psychology?
Yeah, its efficacy is. I'm not saying there isn't things in economics or psychology or any of the social sciences that doesn't have merit or worth. It's not like there aren't things that are worth studying, but to treat it as a real profession that has any kind of practical use or efficacy in the real world, it's absolutely horrible. For example, if you look at psychologists should be ashamed of themselves today in the United States. I don't know about other countries because we're not getting healthier, mentally speaking.
Right.
People are more antidepressants. The self-deletion rate is going up. All these metrics are getting worse. It's the same thing with economics. We have higher debt to GDP ratios, lower labor force participation. What's the other? There's like some inflation, obviously.
But aren't economists just supposed to give like reports? Isn't that just advice?
Yeah, but that's what they do. You're supposed to be an advisor to the people who have the levers of power in whatever institution, whether it's a government or a bank. I'll give you a classic example. My first book is all about me trying to tell the bankers, hey, don't make that loan. Housing prices are overvalued. The price to rents, the cash flow of these properties don't rationalize the valuations and the amount that you're lending out on them. And then they should follow that advice, but they don't. And so that's in banking, where it's more so, I would say, academia and the government where they've failed, where you are to inform the government that you just can't print off money. It's so ridiculously simple. Right. You go in, but a lot of the economists now are and have been politicized themselves, where they're no longer coming in like, stop printing off money. They're like, they come up with a way, well, you can actually print off more money and you can lower the reserve requirement ratio and you could do all these things, but it won't trigger inflation because literally pull it out of my ass theory, explanation, and rationalization.
No, okay, that's what happens sometimes where I'll talk to someone that's like, I can tell they're smart, right? Yeah. But their theory doesn't make sense.
Right.
But like, because I was an economics major and even like, I can't even remember, it was so long ago, but I remember them explaining to me why they could keep printing off money in school. I'm not like, and I was like, that doesn't really make sense, but I guess I'll take it.
And that's why, more or less, I would say today, the economics profession is horrendously corrupt and ineffectual. It's pointless. They're I mean, what's his name? Paul Krugman, who's a Clark Medal winner, which is like the most prestigious economics award you can get. He was like, oh yeah, you can print off money. And then I think 2-3 years ago, he was shocked about all the inflation. It's like, dude, if you can't.
But how do they get in these high up positions?
You give the people in power. For example, let's go back to banking. If I told them what they wanted to hear, then they could continue lending money. And because of their economic, their compensation package, rather, is based on sales and volumes, not whether you're actually paid back. Now I'm greasing the skids for them, making it easier for them, giving them the rationalization for them to do what they want to do. Economists do the same thing with politicians. A politician might say, well, geez, won't that cause inflation, or don't we have to increase taxes? And if you're a snake of an economist, you go, no, there's a special magic economic theory, and it'll totally work, and you can have your cake and eat it too. And like, okay, and then they'll cite, well, all the social sciences. Here's a study that shows this. Here's some research that shows that. Right. And like this research shows that you can bang yourself in the toe with a sledgehammer and not feel any pain. And people are like, oh my God, I can bang. And they all, see, it's peer reviewed. It's like this. None of it means anything anymore because it's all a self-serving kind of rationalization, particularly in the domain of government academia.
Okay, so how do you know the difference between an economist who's being honest and an economist who's not?
Because the economist who's being honest is going to give you advice you don't want to hear. An economist that is lying is like Oprah. You want to hear it. Your biggest anything that sounds great. We could print off more money. It's not going to be any inflation. It's not your fault. You're unemployed. It's the patriarchy. Or pick whatever group. Any degree is a good degree. I can major in fluffy bunny studies and get, a $250,000 a year job. Of course you can. If you don't, it's Trump's fault. Nothing productive or good in any system comes from less effort. Everything that is good comes from work and pain and sacrifice, or cost. We just call it cost. Either physical labor, time, money, intellectual rigor. You have to sit down and think or study and research. Your car doesn't fix itself. You have to get under there, bust a knuckle, and get dirty. And so anyone who tells you in anything, whether it's economics or not, if it sounds good, chances are it's not true. If it sounds, losing weight, how do you lose weight? You work out more and you eat less. That's it. And that's the truth. And it's the same thing with economics or any other field, I'd imagine.
So do you think they're all in on it? Like, do you think they all know, or do they?
I think both. I think some people actually believe their own farts. I think they actually, because they were academians, they've never tried to practically put it into the real world. Joe Biden.
They're kind of in a bubble.
They are very much in a bubble. They actually believe their own stuff. Biden has never worked a real job in his life. He has never been outside of politics. He's been in office longer than I've been alive. And this guy is leading the freaking country. So I could see people like that who come from genuinely privileged backgrounds, never had to work. And then you have a perfect example would be his wife, Jill Biden. She has a doctorate in education. That's not a real thing. That's not a real, you're not a doctor. You're a make-believe play school playmate doctor.
My brother refused to date education majors. He said they're too stupid.
And they are. If you look at the IQ, you rank by IQ. Early childhood education majors have the lowest IQ. Up top is astrophysicists and economists, I might add. But yes, I do believe these people, a fair amount of them believe their own shit. And then others, I think Paul Krugman is one of them. He's too smart. Having read his stuff a long time ago.
Oh, who's that?
He's probably the most famous boomer economist. Now Thomas Sowell is taken over because he is awesome. He's dope.
That's my other. Him and you are like my two favorite books. Like one's from you and one's from him.
I just would like to meet the man before he passes. But Paul Krugman, I think he knows he's too smart. The way he writes in his research, I'm like, I see what you did there. Like, it's conscious. He knows what he's doing. He is making a ton of money telling people in the New York Times or whatever advisory or politician, he's making a lot of money. So I don't think he believes his own shit.
So you predicted 2007, 2008 crash, and there was a bunch of economists that also predicted it.
Yeah, it
wasn't just you.
Yeah, it was. There was Peter Schiff. I mean, we're gonna go back 15, 16 years. There were other people out there who were, even the Economist, the publication was worrying about price to rents, and some other indicators. So it wasn't like just me. There were thousands of people who saw it. Just wasn't popular to point out, because once you point out, it was the same thing with the dot-com bubble, which probably predates.
Is that the 90s, right?
That was the late 90s,
Yeah.
where if you told someone, these companies that don't make no money, I don't know how their stock prices keep going up. You need to make money for that to happen.
Do you think there's going to be an influencer bubble?
There's,
I'll
have to look at it.
People that like make so much money off of just doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's people that are legit, but there's people that just like off of Snapchat making thousands and thousands of dollars a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this can't go on forever. There has to be some catch.
Yeah, I don't know if there'd be an economic way to analyze. I mean, I'm sure there always is, but I think that's just good times don't last forever. Save your money.
Yeah.
Like I have not been pissing away my money for the past 15 years. I'm just like, what? I get paid to yell on the internet? Like, okay, we're saving. This ain't going to last forever. And surprisingly, this lasted a long time. But yeah, all good things come to an end. Predicting it, I wouldn't know. But all it would take is another adpocalypse from YouTube or a great demonetization spree. I could see it happening. There's been a piece of me that's wanted to look at what is the because it's all based on advertising. What is the possible upper limit? Like what % of our GDP or economy is going to be YouTube advertisements?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many people? You could kind of see it already in OnlyFans where it's very asymptotic. The top 1 or 2% make nearly all the money and the bottom 98 don't. So I'm thinking if that money from advertising starts to shrink, you could have a collapse. And certainly if people spend their money and borrow money and thinking the good times are going, I'm making $2 million a year for the rest of my life. Like, no, man, save your money. Don't buy boats. Don't get fancy cars.
Yeah.
Just save your money. And then if it goes away, you can be retired for the rest of your life.
Right. Okay. So you predicted that. And then, did you predict like what do you think is going to happen in the future now?
Just same thing as we are now. Long ago, people asked that, and I'll say the same thing I said about 20 years ago. I think we're just going to slowly decay into like a Brazil,
okay,
a solid second world country. It's my predictions become true, but it's just a gradual, slow. We'll have our ups and downs, but you're going to have more inflation. You're going to have less labor force participation. Our labor productivity will go down. Our debts are going to go up. The currency is going to become less and less valued. Pretty much we're going to slowly we're going to become an unnotable country. We're not going to become, a third world war torn shithole, but we're not going to be the idea of American exceptionalism is over.
When would you predict that would happen?
I don't like times,
right?
Because it's akin to like, well, when is this? I could tell you there's an overhang of snow for an avalanche. Like that has the potential. That's going to be an avalanche someday. Where in which snowflake and where does it fall on that avalanche to achieve the critical mass that it causes it? I don't know. It crashes and economies and all that. It's more like you can see the potential fuel for an explosion. Where the spark's going to come to ignite it is another issue. So it's real hard. You ever see what was the movie? It was about The Big Short.
Yeah.
Did you see it where the numbers and the data started coming in? Like people weren't paying their loans back.
Yeah.
And the quantitative analyst was correct, but Wall Street kept bidding up the price of housing assets. You can have the data coming in saying, oh my gosh, it's all over. But psychology, the mental, the psychology of the market will keep it going up and being irrational. Even after the empirical evidence comes out and says, this is wrong, this is bad. And so, it's real hard to predict when. Essentially, when are the normies going to pull their heads out of their ass? That's the question you're asking. Like, I don't know normie behavior.
When will they pull their heads out of their ass?
Yeah, when did the normies say, hey, wait a second, we can't print off all the money. Hey, did you know getting a master's degree in education doesn't get it? I mean, look at education.
Right.
I wrote Worthless 2011. That's 13 years ago. It warned everyone about worthless degrees. People, take a wild guess. National Center for Education Statistics.
Up, not down.
Well, no, the
okay.
Overall enrollment has gone down, and the enrollment and choosing of majors that are poor have gone down, but microscopically so. we're 13 years after that came out, and about 85% of the kids who go to college still major in worthless degrees.
85%?
85. You have the news, I mean, and there's debate on what one considers a worthless degree. I consider, are you going to have a job at the end of it? Okay. But we have had news media coverage about the education crisis and the student loan crisis, $1.6 trillion. Young people, the Zoomers now who are the college going age, it's not like they haven't seen the millennials like bodies on the floor, like a battlefield with just all these millennial bodies who've been ruined by their worthless degrees and their student loan. Yet they still go and 85% of the time about, plus or minus, they're choosing these joke degrees. And so it takes a long time for normies to wake up to bad things. And it's impossible for an economist or anyone else to predict when that will be. When did poofy bangs go out of style? When did the queen bee of the 80s decide, I don't like poofy bangs anymore? And then it cascaded. It's impossible to predict that trend. But you can look at the numbers, you can look at the data and say there's a mismatch here and it's got to correct sometime. I can't
believe it's that high, 85%.
Yeah.
It's mostly women getting the worthless degree.
No, last stats I pulled, 60% of men's choices are pretty worthless, and women's like 90, 92 or so. I'd have to, again, look at the data.
Still 60% of guys.
The vast majority of all people are wasting their time in college, and they are crippling themselves financially, men and women. Men, you could go up and say, hey, stop majoring in political science. You tell a girl that, why do you always my dream? I hate you. You're patriarchy. All right, fine. Go be poor and debt-ridden and go join OnlyFans. I don't care.
I'm curious if you think because you would say economics, that's a good degree?
In hindsight, no. Horrible degree. Horrible degree.
I mean, I didn't use it anyway. But.
Yeah, no. I would not recommend an economics degree at all. You got to get a doctorate. I got lucky. I don't have a doctor. I don't even have a degree. I have a minor in economics. I just ended up doing it.
Okay.
It was weird. But generally, you got to get at least a master's, if not a doctorate. Then you're going to go work for some stodgy, boring, go work for the Fed. You go work for a bank. For the most part, if you do any real work, you say, God, we can't increase the debt anymore. You'll get fired or you'll be lectured. And no, it's just totally not worth it.
I'm known for asking questions.
Yeah, no, you would make a horrible economist. Do anything. I made a horrible economist. There's just no one who's honest going to economics.
I did business administration. I double majored. Was business admin good? Probably not. Dang it. Okay.
You need accounting or some. Yeah, and that's where a lot of people would argue with me is that for all business degrees except for accounting and IT are
I didn't
worthless.
Look at all at the jobs after.
Yeah, no.
I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Well, why does it take us 15 years to have this conversation?
Yeah.
And glacially slow to get, like, we're 3% less kids going to college. Okay, that's the right trend, but we'll finally get to where we got to be by 2275 at that rate. And the financial costs are way too here. So getting people to wake up is impossible. It's just impossible.
So good. I'm no better. Dang it, guys. Okay, but good degrees are accounting,
STEM, engineering. Yeah, I wrote a book called Worthless. If you want all the details, it's there. No, I'm not updating it for inflation. People go, you're going to update it for inflation. No, I'm not. Just multiply it by 1.7. You'll have your numbers. There are the trades, of course. Yeah. They're medicine, and some of which aren't even 4-year programs, like radio tech or radiologist tech or X-ray tech. So there's anything with a truck driver, you go and they'll train you in. So you can do your research, but the education, whether it's trade school, self-study, online, or an in-person college, make sure there's a job at the end of it.
I can't believe 60% of men even pick bad degrees. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, but I know a lot of people are focusing on women, I guess because maybe their behavior is a little more amplified or not exotic, but you see like, wow, you majored in dance therapy. What the hell? And most guys, well, I'm going to major in journalism or something a little less zany. Yeah. But yeah, it's not going to help. We could focus on women and say, look, you got to stop majoring in this dumb crap. But that says nothing for the 60% of guys who are doing the same thing and ruin their finances going forward. So you have to be You have to tell the truth regardless.
Yeah, so we really just have a population of people that are making really bad choices
Yes.
economically.
Yes. That's it. And the national debt is the sum total of those bad choices, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what my dad said my whole life, that the debt is gonna that we can't keep going like this. And my whole life they've just kept going like this.
Yeah. But now we're starting to see inflation. People are starting to they wonder,
even this, that was like $3. I was like,
yeah,
wow.
I remember when they were like, I think $1.25.
Yeah.
I remember when Mountain Dew cost $0.25.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm old. But after a while, though, you kind of give up because I've seen Gen X, that's my generation. They were a bunch of dopey leftists as well back in the day. Free stuff,
what's Gen X? That's 50?
Like 70 to 85, roughly born, or 68. Depends on who you are.
That old.
I'm 49.
Oh yeah, but you're not 70. That's
no, born in 1970 up to 1985 or so.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant 70 years old.
No. No, that would be boomers. Yeah.
Okay, and so they made a lot of poor choices too.
Yes, pretty much most Americans have made bad choices since World War II, and we could talk about culturally and socially and what all it is lazy people not wanting to work. We want welfare. We want this. I don't want to work out. I want people to like fat people. I'm going to get divorced. It's just, you could, thousands of different cultural, economic, and political individual topics we would talk about. At the end of the day, people are just lazy. They don't want to work. They don't want to owe up to responsibility. They want free shit. And you'll see that thread of DNA in every socio-political topic we could talk about.
So when did you write your book, A World Without Men?
That was last year. It was last year. That came out last year.
And you talked about in that book how the economy could not function without men.
It could not. I mean, you'd have an economy, but it would be the equivalent of Kenya based off of my estimates.
Okay, could you go through the numbers a little bit?
Well,
everyone says your number. I quote you so much, and I know they're. It makes me so mad because I'm doing these debates. And I'll quote you, and they'll be like, that book, but they'll discount it even if it's right. It's so annoying.
Did they read it? Did they have other data? In both of the books that I've done most recently, I say, if you have new data, send it to me. And it's just, you could go, well, those aren't the real numbers. Then you say, okay, you're a poopy face. I mean, that's the level. You can't either counter it with data or not. And I'm good, not to brag. I'm good because I'm intellectually honest. I don't go out. Here's how most people figure out their economics, okay? They have their politics first, like they do a religion, and then they go and try and find the data to prove their politics. I did it the reverse, and that should scare the piss out of anyone that criticizes me. I go and get the data first, and then I form my opinion. And you would think people, especially economists, politicians, all that, would be that empirical. They're not. And so I don't view that. I got this here in case I was asked about numbers. These books aren't my opinion. That's numbers, and this is the same thing happening in the the housing bubble. I'm like, there's an oversupply of housing. The interest rates are artificially low. This person can't afford it. You don't know what you're talking about. Bam. Well, okay, prove me wrong. And so when someone dismisses that out of hand, it's infuriating. But you gotta control. You don't get angry, and then you go to their level. Where it's like, oh yeah, well you smell like a fart. I mean, if we're going to do this childish level of, I know you are, but what am I?
Right.
That kind of thing, I don't have time for that. But, I keep getting proven right over time. And I've kind of learned to let reality and the real world prove me right and them wrong, because it's pointless to waste your time arguing.
Because even on my Michael Knowles interview, did you see the part he talked about?
Is that the one where he didn't read the book and said there was like 5 mistakes in the first?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He's lying. There's not 5 grammatical errors in the first page. He obviously didn't read it. Because I'm empirical first.
I'm like, was there? I didn't see him, but I don't know.
No, you could say, well, I'd write it differently, but I go through my own stuff. You said you enjoy reading because it's very well written and easy to understand. And it's like a vodka purifying, or what do they call it? You filter. You filter vodka 3 times. I have 3 different editors that go over it to look for things like that. Are there typos in my books? Yes. There's not 5 on the first page. Tell me you didn't read the book without telling me you didn't read the book. So can dismiss that guy outright.
Well, yeah, but it's so weird when I try to tell them about the number of marriageable women. It's like it's so weird how they won't believe me. And I'm like, I've interviewed 1,000, because at first I didn't really come in with the opinion of that, but then I interviewed 1,000 women, and I was like, oh God.
But in criticism of you, there is a selection bias. So you're going on shows, so it skews, a certain way. And these guys, whether it's
if I look from my hometown, that's Christian conservative, like still half divorced. Like,
right. No, and that's where
I'm from a pretty rural part of Chicago, a very Catholic, they call it MAGA County.
Yeah.
What do you guys want?
Well, but they also have a selection bias because in their defense, like Matt Walsh, not Dennis Prager, Kevin. I don't. No, I think Dave Ramsey. These guys who are pro-marriage and you just got to go up there and be swell, son. I mean, they actually have good marriages. They have good wives. So I think they also have a selection bias. You know where I get my information about divorce? Center for Disease Control, among other places. Now, someone wants to question that. I'd like to see a more authoritative source than the Center for Disease. That's the official government, but if you want to disagree, fine, go ahead. But I'm still waiting for other data, which I still have the model I used.
Yeah.
Ready to just plop numbers in as I get better data and I can update the data. But yeah, this is it. It's tiring. This is what I dealt with in academia. This is what I dealt with in banking, where I don't like your figures. Well, F off then. I don't care.
They come from their ideology first. And
come from their idea.
You come from the numbers first.
Right. Or they just come from their personal experiences, which until relatively recent, we didn't have. Like, all you had was your eyes and ears and your personal experiences. Like, look out for girls with tattoos, son. It's like, oh, okay, because there was a correlation back in the day. If these guys have happy marriages, great, awesome. That's wonderful. You are not the remaining 168,999,999 American men in the world.
Well, what happened was I interviewed Paul Elam the other day.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Paul. I know Paul.
And he brought a friend of his, and he was from Michael Knowles' church community. And he's like, I don't know what he's talking about. Because he spent $300,000 trying to get his kid, and now his kid's in Russia and speaks another language.
The friend.
He
spent $300,000.
Yeah. He's from like Michael Knowles' like Latin church community.
Okay.
No, but it just confuses me because I think I'm like, there's no way you don't know somebody that's gone through it. I just don't believe it.
No, and here's one thing that really helped me be a quote better economist than the average economist. Is I'm all about data and research and removing your emotions and your political biases and just what does the data tell you? And you'll be amazed what it will tell you. Oh, shoot, I forgot where I was going with that. What would you ask before?
That Michael Knowles, I said that he spent $300,000 trying to get his kid. It confuses me because they have to know somebody that got divorced.
Right. And that's where I was going. Data will carry you very far, but in today's world where everyone has a bias or an agenda or a political motivation, even the data and the research can get corrupted. Or when people get you statistics, they're biased. Oh, we got a study. Study suggests. Who did it? Who did the study? This is why I look at databases.
How do you?
But that's what I was going to say is sometimes you have to use your eyes and ears and say, okay, what if I am not biased? What if what I'm seeing in the real world is actually representative of the real world, not just bad luck? For example, I've been shot down to a majority of dates that I've been asked out, or I've asked a girl out on. If I was more worried about data, I'd be like, God, girls just don't like me. It's like, well, wait, what if there's a chance that, I look around then, all my friends are getting shot down. All the older guys I know are getting divorced. Soon, you have to start trusting your own eyes, especially in absence of real data and where it's just questionable data as well. And so it's kind of a little bit of both. You definitely don't want to be biased, but sometimes, especially how academia and polling and everyone's got an agenda has been so corrupted, soon you got to look out there. Like, big is beautiful. No, it isn't. No, I see it with my eye. No, it's not beautiful. So sometimes you have to just, have a gut check and trust your own vision.
So they often quote the stat that, like, if they pray every day, there's only a 5% divorce rate. Have you seen that one?
No.
Okay, I was curious what your thoughts were on it.
I'd want to know the methodology. Like in all fairness, I had to come up with some really hard statistics to come by.
Yeah.
Like tattoos and bodily mutilation. That's probably the most dubious or the weakest bit of data that I have in there. But they actually have polling data on, how many tattoos does the average girl have?
You know what's crazy? I asked my youngest sister, because you said you had some stat about women younger, like Gen Z, having tattoos.
Yeah.
And my youngest sister is 10 years younger than me, and then the next is 8.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was asking them, like, how many of your friends have tattoos? And this is conservative, Catholic school. This is upper class. Mm-hmm. She said majority.
A majority, yep.
Yeah, she said more than 50%.
Right, and it's good to collect the empirical data, but the 5% divorce that prays, okay, I could see if you're praying every day, you probably follow the Bible pretty precisely, and whether your marriage is happy or not. And keep in mind, the book of Numbers, isn't about whether your marriage stays together. It's whether you are happily married, which is another measuring issue right there. So that's fine, 5%, the divorce rate. How many people aren't Christian? How many people don't pray every day? It's like great. People who play guitar left-handed, whose names are Bob and they have blue underwear on, those guys have no divorces. Well, okay, what about literally everybody else?
Yeah.
And so that's nice. But if people aren't Christian or they're secular or they don't pray every day, whatever the obtuse kind of statistic is, fine. And then, I would naturally call into question the methodology that they used on that. And then I'd want to interview everyone and say, okay, when you can interview them, but I want to look and say, are you overweight? All right. Oh, really? Is that a happy marriage over there? Show me your wedding picture. Now let me look at you now. Don't tell me you guys are happy. So
that's kind of so. How can you tell a bad methodology from a good method? Because it's so confusing for like the average person, where it's like, okay, you have this study and this, and then
the main way to tell if it's a good methodology if there's intellectual honesty and integrity in it. Where that research paper where me and a bunch of other guys made it on the list. The peril,
hate.
Diverting Hate and Middlebury University and ASU. You want to see absolute, I'm not saying because I disagree with them, I'm saying they should be fucking embarrassed that they published that. That methodology was horrible. The Peril Institute, the ones where they came up with the male supremacy scale.
Oh, yeah, I think I out supremacied you.
Did you?
Yeah, I think I scores.
But did you read through his methodology?
Not at all.
There was no intellect. No, it was just you could already tell it was wrong because wait, there are channels that are bigger than me. You didn't do any research at all. But the main thing is, and you could read through people's methodology in the research publications that they publish and say, okay, what did they do? And you'll be able to tell quickly, we have a theory. The theory is this affects that. And if that stands up to reason, okay, philosophically or logically, that makes sense. And we measured this and that using these techniques. And then you're going to be like, wait, how does that measure? We're using these measuring techniques to get to A. I'm like, how does that measure A?
Can I have an example of one that would be bad?
The same guy who did the Peril research at the Diverting Hate. He took the top 5 most popular videos. I'm just wondering if there'd be an easier one that would the audience could understand.
You can make it up,
no, because I want to be on that male supremacy list. He had a list of 15 things, and
wasn't one calling men simps or something?
Yeah, calling men simps.
I think that's what got me so high.
Right, and then calling men simps. Well, simps exist. That doesn't mean I hate women and believe in male supremacy. Another one was, I think you used the word woman. It's like, that's just a funny way to say what? No, it's just, so if you go through his list of 15 things, at least 2/3 of them does not measure A, does not mean you're a male supremacist. That does not. It might correlate, but that does not mean you're a male supremacist. And so you'll see that rife in academia. Another one is the N number, the number of people they surveyed or the number of test subjects. Like maybe a couple hundred, and you might get it. But all of a sudden, you'll see sample sizes of 5. It's like, who the hell did you interview? Like, when you only find 5 people?
Right.
So that is another way to look at bad methodology.
So what's a good number that you would say a study is credible?
It depends on what you're trying to measure. 50.
Oh, 50?
I guess
I'm surprised that low.
Well, a lot of the things you're trying to measure, there's not enough real world instances of things you're trying to measure. Like, let's say you're trying to study a very rare disease. Okay, well, good luck finding people that have that disease. It really depends on what you're trying to measure. But I mean, really, rule of thumb, 50. Okay. 50 would be a starting point. You'd like a couple hundred, a couple thousand, maybe.
So a world without men. I often hear women say that they don't need a man. Yeah. Do you think that's true or untrue?
It is provably not true. You don't need men, sure, but you're gonna have like a GDP per capita on par with Kenya. You're going to be living in literally a 70 square foot closet. You will not have electricity. You will barely have electricity. You will not have cars. You won't have road. I mean, you'll have very little of this spread across an entire female. Women are helplessly, and I mean that in the literal sense, though, they are helplessly dependent upon men. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So why do you think women believe this?
Because they want to. It feels good. I think a lot of it, how much of it is nurture versus nature. I think the past 3 generations, maybe 4, if you want to throw in the boomers, there's been some cultural push and I'd even call it indoctrination, where it's almost its own ideology or religion, like the Church of Girl. Like, oh, I'm so great because I'm a girl. It's like, no, that's just a trait you were born with. You're half the population. You're not special. But it's a simple tribalism where, why is a Green Bay Packer fan, because Milwaukee, Chicago, why would I cheer for the Green Bay Packers over those stupid Chicago Bulls?
You're born
there. It's
you guys got the cheese heads.
Yeah, we got the chip. What?
Yeah.
So what? You got a piece of styrofoam on your head. Yeah. It doesn't mean you yourself or anything. So I think it's human nature to rally around a flag and rally around a tribe. And I think the concept of feminism, which, fine, yes, equal rights, voting rights, right to property, all that, sure, everyone was on board with that. But more modernly, especially since I was a kid and later, younger generations, it's become its own cult. It's become its own religion. It's become its own value system where, vagina, that's all I need. Mm-hmm. Not whether I'm a doctor or a pilot or a good mom or whatever else. I just have a vagina. It's great.
Well, and you said in your, I can't remember if it was a stream or in one of your books, you said that most women don't like men that much.
I'm pretty convinced this, the data is in my favor. But yes, I would say women don't like men that much. They don't hate men. I'm not saying all women hate men, but most women, I would say, are pretty indifferent to most men. Mm-hmm. And there's a ton of data more recently brought to light, kind of what our realm that we're in this industry, where the online dating data has kind of bore that out, where there's the famous OkCupid study where only 20% of men are rated attractive by women. There's also Tinder analytics where you look at how many swipes men do versus women do and how many women go on dates versus how many men. The vast majority of, here's where you would go empirical data, pre-internet. You could talk to old timers like me or Rollo or that exceptionally handsome man, Troy Francis, that despicably handsome man. Even Troy Francis.
Got a crush?
No, he's just like, he's a great guy. No, but he's just so good looking. And then he has this British accent on top of it. And then he's nice. Like, you're a dick. I gotta enjoy your company too. Troy Francis. Handsome as he is, British accent as he does, he's been shot down the majority of times by women. And you think like, wait a minute, and there's a very simple study where I think it was a professor, he had 100, what the heck? Oh, he had one female student, one male student go up and ask, I think it was 100 men and 100 women, would you go to bed with me? Mm-hmm. Just like that. And not one girl said yes to the guy. Whereas I think most of the guys said yes to the gal. It's there. It's genetic. It's ingrained. It's not evil. It's not malicious. I just don't think women are that attracted to men. And it's borne out in many different sociological, even genetic statistics with the genome.
Why do you say it's genetic when, like, 100 years ago, most women married most men?
Well, because they
85% of women were married.
Well, yeah, you needed men back in the day,
right?
Previous, and that's one of the premises, and not even a premises, one of the facts I established early on and point out in I think both books, is you had the Industrial Revolution and then more modernly the IT or technical revolution. And that liberated everyone from physical hard labor. So now we have mostly white-collar work, which women can do. Women can do white-collar work. They can find accountants, doctors, whatever. But in the times past, they needed the guy mainly, 90-odd% of the population was farmers. They needed the male's physical labor to go and either hunt, farm, protect, all that other stuff, and the ladies stayed home. Well, the Industrial Revolution, especially air conditioning and computers, liberated everybody from that. Now women could go make their own money. So now they are not financially dependent upon men. You throw on the welfare state, you have an insurance policy. Right? Yeah, 65 in the United States and on. But now, even if you fail in your career or you just don't want to work, you are now doubly less dependent upon men, and you can make your own choice. And it's been a fascinating, it's like Tom Cruise and Tropic Thunder. It's like sometimes if you listen, the world's trying to tell you something, Peck. All men have to do, and this is what I've done in my research, step back. What are women choosing? They don't need any more. They haven't needed them for quite some time. How are women behaving? What choices are they making? They are not choosing to get married. And if they are choosing to get married, they're only going to sell for a very top echelon of men. And so you can see this in their behavior that you could say, oh, the girls are crying themselves to sleep. Oh, girls with pining, they really do want a guy. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Maybe at night they're crying themselves to sleep and they really want a guy. And yes, we could always make that, but only a top 2% guy, whatever microscopic percentage it might be. They still choose career, education, politics, sometimes even kids outside of a husband. You still look at their behaviors. And I don't care what they say.
Right.
Crying at home after they got back from the nightclub drunk. I just really want a guy. Their choices in the real world, which is the only thing that matters, has made it that they are not choosing men. And that's only what men can react to. And so I would say looking at that, and I believe they're being honest. They want to. You could argue, well, they've been conditioned and all. Okay, that's fine. They've been conditioned. At the end of the day, they're still choosing to go into debt for largely worthless degrees. They're still going out and partying and having fun. They're choosing careers, and I'm a libertarian. I don't care what you do with your life. That's fine, right? But it is fascinating to watch from, an anthropological viewpoint. Like we're watching gorillas in the mist. And now they have the Industrial Revolution. And now, look, now there's the welfare state. How will these creatures of the human world react? Well, they're not going out with guys. Right. And you're getting your answer through their behavior and their choices. And again, and it's kind of hard in some of the people we mentioned before. That's hard for men to acknowledge and realize emotionally, psychologically, and genetically.
It's very hard for you?
Yeah, but I had it was not so much the data, it was just trial and error. Because I'm old. We had to ask people out in person back in the day. We'd put our spears away after we slew the mammoth, and we'd walk up to the pretty girl with her, leopard bikini.
You were never married though, right?
No,
you
never.
Didn't have like a crazy. Most guys in the space had, not most, but a decent amount had like a crazy divorce story.
Yeah, I've dated crazy girls. Yeah, I just watched all the boomer men in my family get divorced, and I'm like, this is not. And it also, in my benefit, it didn't seem at a benefit at the time, but it ended up having me here. There was no help from my parents, like no money. I dropped from 147 to 118 pounds in college because I just couldn't afford a lot of food. Also, I worked security, so your bike and all that. I didn't have time to be worrying about world, chasing girls, and all that other stuff. So I had to be much more shrewd and economic with my resources. And you just, like, for example, I could never afford kids. These girls, one girl I dated, nice gal. I want 4 kids minimum. 4 kids minimum. Well, where are you going to get the money? I can barely afford parking. What world are you in?
I talked to one guy. His dad isn't from here,
Mhm.
and he was like, American women, that's amazing. They can, like, your mother never paid. At least, like, you're these American women, they pay, right? And he's like,
No, they don't. No, they don't. They really don't. Yeah.
I thought it was so funny.
Yeah, I mean, at any point in time, well, maybe not at any point, but these gals could have like, oh, I really want to get together with you. It's like, okay, well, you gonna pay my rent? Are you gonna like? Because in the meantime, I got to work another shift. So having those limits, I had to be much more shrewd with prospects like having kids or getting married. And when you just see everyone getting divorced, like, no, this is. I can't afford to go through a divorce and what meager assets I have, be split in half. It just wasn't doable.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about, like, women want the soft life now and they want to be stay-at-home?
No. No.
What do you think about princess
No,
treatment?
you don't know. No, that is, you don't get to tell men for literally 50 years you don't need them. And you're gonna do it on your own, and
No,
that's.
you haven't seen the TikToks.
I've seen them. No.
The dresses are here.
So much political, economic, educational, corporate, and I would say psychological on a society-wide level. So much infrastructure has been laid that women are going to be equal. They're going to support themselves. We've invested in that for generations, like 3 generations now.
Can you give me an example of the infrastructure?
Well, for example, quotas. We got to get a certain amount of DEI, affirmative action being kind of law. That'd be an example. The psychological infrastructure, well, should be educational infrastructure. Is they're pushing women into push women into education. They got to do absolutely. I'm all for you going and becoming engineers, but then also besmirching and like, oh my God, you don't need a man. You're a pick-me. That kind of like belittling and smearing marriage. So there's a psychological predates you, but I would love to go and read some of those Teen Beat, Vogue, 17 magazines. What they told young women back in my age, what it was, or more modernly, which would be your TikTok filth that you have now. And then, not to get too political, but the Democrat Party and feminism as a I guess the women's wing of leftist politics. Again, getting back to that the value system, like, oh my God, you're a woman, and it's just that's all you need to be, and that's just so amazing. It's like me saying, oh my God, I'm a brown-eyed person, I'm just amazing, and I'm going to live my entire life to that. So
no one says that to you?
No one, because it's ridiculous. It's as equally ridiculous. Can I mention his name? Jeremiah's black. All right, I have brown eyes, and you're tall. Oh my God, let's just go jerk off to ourselves in a mirror with traits where it's ridiculous. And it's the same thing. Like, I got brown eyes. Oh my God, it's amazing.
Have you seen the eye chart on Twitter?
No, what's the eye chart?
Oh, so I found this out. I just got on Twitter in the last year. And I didn't know there's this whole like eye chart. And they believe that if you have like the bluest of eyes, you're like royalty.
Royalty?
Yeah, so I'm apparently in, I forgot, I'm like 3rd on the chart because I have green eyes. So,
I think your ancestors were just from northern climates. That's pretty much, I don't know if it means you're from royalty.
I don't know. They keep putting Trump's son as like the king. They're like, he's going to be
That's exactly my point. This is ridiculous.
That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
There's a little sect on X that's what they believe.
But however, whether it's government politics, laws, I would say more so current social psychology among women in general. I mean, look at younger gals. Like the polling data, it's borne out in polling. Younger gals, Gen Z, men are ranked 7th on the priority list behind a whole bunch of other things. That is having an effect and is an example of that infrastructure that has been laid down and sent several generations of women down a path that, in hindsight, now they're like, oh, I want my soft girl life. No, we can't. We have a welfare state. You need to work and pay for those taxes that you voted for. There's all this free crap that you wanted. Yeah. You know where it comes to a head. It's exact. Can't have your cake and eat it too. What do most women want, but they can't have now?
Top 5% of men.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. In terms of lifestyle, what's something that they're 40, they're crying, they're drinking their wine.
Stay-at-home mom.
Right. Too bad. You voted in all these entitlements. You voted in the welfare state. You said you're going to work. You got to work. And you would still spend more than we got. We got, I don't know, 32 trillion in debt.
Right.
No, all hands on deck. You said you're going to do the thing. You're going to do the thing. And if you don't, there's a tremendous amount of economic hurt that's coming our way.
Okay, so for young women, I do see a little bit, I mean, it's TikTok, God only knows.
Yeah.
But you see the younger women putting on the dresses, doing the trad content. Do you see the younger women going that route?
I see little, what do they call them? Sprouts of grass. For every one legit, I think there's 9 posers.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I think,
obviously, like cake tits.
Right, whatever. Hey guys, big crucifix and some tiggle bitties.
I know.
Yeah, that's BS. However, but I do believe there's some sincere, I see some younger gals who are like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
And I think the internet has made it acceptable to acknowledge, maybe not believe it full force, but to acknowledge that is an option and criticize them as you might, the tits for Christ girls or whatever, I just want to be a stay-at-home wife and then we'll go to church and then I'll be a porn star in bed. They are actually, you have to have a certain intelligence to know that's fake. Mm-hmm. A lot of people believe it's true. And so a lot of girls are like, oh, well, she's making cookies and she's pretty. She's wearing a pink dress. And the idea is now planted. And so it's no longer, we shall not speak of Voldemort. We shan't say his name. Mm-hmm. The idea of being a stay-at-home wife, at least now, is known as an option. Mm-hmm. And I think the internet you're starting to get voices that are counter to it. So there is, I think there's more resistance than there was before. But I don't think enough to counter like your education industry, your teachers,
that's what I was wondering. Because on one hand, you said Gen Z girls pull 7th.
Yes,
they rank men 7th.
Yes,
I talked to my younger sisters, and I think I get more of like an insight than maybe some people because I have a sister that's like one's 17, one's 20.
You got boots on the ground, yeah.
And I kind of look at her and their friends. I would say maybe they're less like when I look at my siblings that were the most wild, it's like 5 years younger. So I think they're less like crazy, that generation. They don't really seem to get into trouble.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say they're like dying to be wives and mothers, them and their friends.
No, and that polling data is, keep in mind they're younger. Ask a 19-year-old girl, what's your priorities? Well, it probably should be education and getting your finances together and looking at a job. Plus, let's just be honest, the men are in no condition to get married themselves.
Right.
I mean, we could go do a whole other show on the low quality of men and living at home and overweight and skinny fat and soy boys and all that other stuff. So women are somewhat in a paradox or a quandary where, well, what are you going to do until you're 25 or 26? And I get actually a little bit of guff and flack where I'm like, well, yeah, you should go to school or go get a trade or go into engineering. Yeah, it's a good skill to have. Something maybe work from home so you could work from home and have kids later on.
Well, what I was thinking, I saw a job posting for someone, a woman that would make, well, I'm assuming it's a diversity and inclusion position.
All right.
And it was paid $22 an hour.
Uh-huh.
Then there was a firefighter position, also paid $22 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, if there's all these useless, overpaid jobs, are we going to see more female breadwinners in the future? Anecdotally, and I'm curious your thoughts because you're an economist. So we have all these jobs for women that are clearly overpaid.
Right.
Like just
welfare jobs programs. Yes.
So, and then on top of that, one anecdote that I saw in London is I saw the trend of personal trainers that are men dating women that are lawyers. So I would notice like women.
Okay, all right.
So clearly she's the breadwinner. And I'm wondering if in the future, if there's because I'm thinking, okay, like let's say there's a family, guy and a girl, and they want one to work. Mm-hmm. Well, if one goes to an office job and wants to go be a firefighter, wouldn't it make more sense for the whole family?
That's going to be hard.
Maybe they'll both have to. I don't know, but I'm wondering if women will just go get, and maybe there's going to be because one of my producers in London, I explained this to him. I was like, I think there's going to be men that just go to the gym and are like, if I look smacks, I can go get like a 30-year-old
get a cougar
lawyer.
or something like that.
Not even a cougar. I'm like a 30-year-old lawyer.
Okay.
Then she can't like, young enough where you could still have a kid. She can't put me on I can put her on child support.
Right.
And then I'm laying this out for him, and he's like, I should do this.
Based on labor force participation data, there's those statistics again from the Bureau of Labor in case any hacks want to question my resources.
And by the way, this is just a theory. Just a theory.
I think you're going to have an element of both because the labor force participation rate of both men and women is decreasing, but men are decreasing faster than women. So you will see more female workers, welfare jobs, makeup jobs, or real ones or not. Doesn't matter. They're collecting a check. I think the trends is in favor of that happening more frequently than it is now. I don't think it's going to increase the amount of marriages because marriage is on its way out. It's not popular anymore. Also, women seem to have a hang-up that I can't deny, that I can't possibly marry a man who makes less than me. Well, good luck with that. But I don't think...
Well, what else are, if you're a high-earning chick, what the fuck else are you supposed to do? Wait out?
I don't care. It's not my problem.
No, that's what I wonder.
They could figure it out.
If you're going to go make a ton of money, what else do you expect?
I think you're going to see an increase in gigolos. Whether you explicitly call it that or not, you're a sugar mama and a boy toy. I think you're going to see increasing amounts. I don't think it's going to increase the marriage rates. But I also, and so they may not cohabitate. I don't think that's going to. And I also don't think, based on the forecasts of where marriage is going, that they're going to have men and women living together, either married or cohabitating.
Oh, so you
for the opportunity.
You even think cohabitating is going to go away?
I think yes. I don't think it's not going to go away.
Right.
It'll be there. There will be less of it in the future. There will be less cohabitation, either marriage or secular, in the future, giving less opportunity for the sugar mama, young man type of scenario to happen. I think in certain fields, that makes total sense. Big power corporate lawyer type gal. She goes to the gym. She's very serious about things. Here's a good looking piece of meat that's her trainer. Absolutely. You go get it. I cheer you on.
Musician was another one I would
Sure, whatever men do that is sexy yet poor. That's fine. Yeah. You could do those things. But I don't think she's going to marry these guys. I really don't see that happen. But 320 million people, I'm sure you're going to see a little bit of everything. But yeah, based on marriage cohabitation, I don't think that's going to be nominally an increase of that phenomenon, but you will see it in certain professions, or good-looking men are going to. The target group to look at that would be good-looking, physically fit men, and see how many of them get sugar mamas on the side. That might be a thing. Oh my
God, I should go at. That's so interesting.
Well, now here's you want to play Economist? Now go measure that. Have fun. Those are the problems. You're like, oh, geez, how do I figure this one out?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Wow. Okay, so what does the future look like then? Because now, the Morgan Stanley study, I think it was that 50% of women between 25 and 45 will be single and childless. Mm-hmm. There's just not going to be children? Yeah, you think the birth rate's going to keep dropping?
The trends we have now will continue. Debt will go up, fertility rates will go down, marriage rates will go down. I think economic growth is also going to go down, because one of the main premises is on my book, A World Without Men, is, do you know what we run on, what men run on?
Women, sex.
We run on sex. Yeah. 103 octane sex. Mm-hmm. Without that, and you've seen the memes where it's men think it's great to live like this. It's just a TV with a cot and a video game. Yes, you're going to see economic growth, I think, not only decrease more than it is now. Like our long-term growth, we used to grow about 4.5% back in the 40s to the 60s, 20-year average. Now we're at half that, 2.25%. I think it's going to drop to 1 and then just be a nominal 0, where we'll be happy if it's positive, because the men don't have any incentive to work. They really, traditionally speaking, they might have an intellectual interest, or maybe, hey, it's my life, I'm going to maximize it for the sake of it, doing it anyway. But yes, generally speaking, I think the economy will continue to decay, maybe not collapse, but decay. It'll be sclerotic growth. It will be mundane. People are going to get fatter. It's just going to be malaise. Mm-hmm. Is going to be just an increasing amount of malaise of what we have now, but just more of it in the future.
Wow, it's so weird to think about it. And it's weird to even think back to like when I was a kid because I grew up with 9 siblings. And I know.
Wow.
I know you're like
Your old man was busy.
Well, 3 were adopted. It's kind of a weird story. Like 3 were adopted.
Oh, all right.
And then but like biologically 7. And so it's weird and everyone pretty much had families and it was a little bit bigger, I would say, like 2 to 4, which I didn't know a lot of only children, which is common now. So it's weird how the world is changing like so fast.
Yeah. No, it's rapid. It's happening rapidly. And sometimes I have trouble keeping up on it because you never get polling data. You don't get data right. That's not the first bit of information identifying a trend or something that's happening. It's usually an anecdote. And I don't really like the Daily Mail or the New York Post because they're tabloids.
Yeah.
But those are usually the first ones that are going to pick something up on their radar. We're like, what are they doing now? Why are they dyeing their hair purple? Well, yeah, nose piercings, they didn't have those when I was young.
Right.
You looked like an idiot back then, and you still look like an idiot now. But now you can't go all day without some girl without a bull ring in her nose. And so it's Overton's window as to like how much more ridiculous towards the malaise and depression and sadness spectrum are we going to get going? And I just kind of almost don't want to watch someone says, "Oh my God, can you?" Like, no, not today, man. No, I'm gonna go swimming or I'm gonna go shoot guns or something. I'm just gonna go have an ice cream.
Kind of watching like the decline of like a great society, pretty much.
It's watching someone die.
Yeah,
it is watching someone die. Watching your dog die of a slow, painful death, and after a while, you just can't watch it anymore.
Even patriotism is like gone. Like I don't know. When I was growing up, like we would always blast like the courtesy, the red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of propaganda in a way, but it was fun. Everyone was really proud to be American, and I don't get that same like sense the way I used to.
Well, I mean, I am for the principles and ideals of America.
Yeah.
Freedom, individuality, responsibility, leave us the F alone, that kind of thing. But you don't have that in the United States. Your average American is, frankly, a fat loser who doesn't want to work. It depends on your generation, is rapidly trying to find some kind of disability they can claim, either something they were born with or they can claim to have, which is why mental disorders are very popular. What was it? Like 1 in 5 Zoomers claim they're not straight. Get the fuck out of here. So that's what's going to continue to happen. But yeah, you can see the elimination of traditional historical Americans and your modern day people who live. You couldn't call them Americans. People who live in America and have American citizenship, you're not Americans. The vast majority of you are not Americans.
So are there going to be catastrophic effects on the economy with the birth rate declining because all of the industries will be super old and then they won't be able to, and then the younger generation has to take care of them?
No, it's
really?
No,
Okay.
but population, the truth is, here's the truth.
Okay.
Population growth or decline doesn't matter.
No way.
It's per person, per capita standards of living. All right. For example, Japan. Japan or Korea or even us or China.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not having any more babies. Just think that through. Okay, so let's say the boomers die in Japan or here. What happens to the one child they had?
They have kids, or maybe they don't.
Mom and dad die. There's one child. The one kid?
They'll probably want a family, right?
I don't know. What happens after death?
Oh, they get the money?
They get all the money.
Sorry.
And
I thought you were going a different direction.
Instead of on the individual level of a family, think of it as a nation. Okay? There's all these plants. There's all these factories. There's all these roads. There's all these assets in Japan. Okay, so the older generation dies. The younger generation inherits twice the amount of shit. Right? Okay, now you might have an argument. Okay, well, we're not using the roads as much, so we'd use less roads. Maybe, housing would get cheaper. I know younger people are concerned about that. So what? Your population went down. That doesn't mean your productive capacity or your standards of living go down. Where it becomes an issue for everyone, this is where you can't trust the economists because everyone's a liar. The reason they want a younger generation is because we have a Ponzi scheme type of retirement system, social pension.
Oh.
Mainly Social Security here and Medicare. But Other countries have the same thing. And this is why there's a big pull. We got to get immigrants in. We got to get younger people because older people, they don't want they don't want these retirement systems or these pension systems going bankrupt. If you got rid of the welfare state and just, I hope everyone's sitting down, and maybe you paid for your own goddamn retirement, it wouldn't matter whether there was a third less Americans or a third more Americans, or half the Japanese or twice the Japanese, because it would be the same amount of people. There wouldn't be this archaic pension system you have to fund. That's why they're really worried about population growth. It's not because of the environment or anything like that. They want the freaking government check.
You just blew my mind. I have been hearing about the population, the birth rate. Look at you. No, I've been hearing about this my whole life.
Oh, yeah. Well, wait. Which is it? Are we going to overpopulate the world to cause global warming? Or there's not enough young people being born?
Wow.
Choose your crisis.
No, you're
Choose your freaking crisis.
Did I get bamboozled?
Yeah. Well, everyone's gotten bamboozled.
Yeah.
If you've been alive in the past 40 years as a kid, you've been bamboozled. You've been lied to.
Wow. So the real reason they go on about the birth rate is not because society couldn't function with less people. It's because of the social security that's collapsing.
Right. Older people look, in the olden days, you would just take care of your family, right?
Right.
Before the welfare state, before FDR, and Social Security predates the welfare state. If you would just take care of grandma and grandpa,
Wow.
all right? You outsource that to the tune of 15.6% of everybody's paycheck. Young people paying old people now.
Yeah.
You had the government take over of taking care of the old people. And that's it. So now, oh my God, there's less young people. Oh, we got to do something. Otherwise, we'll, one, not get reelected. And then two, the old people won't get their money and then they'll vote us out of office.
Wow. So what's going to happen with Social Security? It's got to collapse eventually.
No, I don't know if you know. No, well, okay. Did Venezuela collapse?
I don't know.
See,
tell you.
You see, it's a philosophical question.
I couldn't tell you.
TFM talks. You don't turd flinging monkey. No, okay. You might want to listen. He's a little bit. He's your sex bot girl expert in the field. So he's interesting conversation on its own. Shoot, what were we talking about?
Social Security is going to collapse.
No, because TFM, he's like, oh, we're going to run out of money. That's not how collapses happen. That's not how it's going to. You will never run out of money because you can always print off more. You're always going to get your welfare check. You're always going to get your Social Security. It's what can you buy with that check?
Inflation.
I could give you a $10,000 a month check on welfare, Social Security, but if gas is $20 a gallon,
and that's how it's going to hit everybody.
It's happening now. That's I can't afford housing. Why is gas so high?
Right. Do you see Bitcoin as a good alternative?
Yes, I do see cryptocurrency in general. I can't endorse an individual one, nor at these individual prices. I'm just saying, as an asset class, that is an insurance policy I recommend financially that it should be the part of every well-balanced investment portfolio.
Do you think that the entire dollar is going to collapse in the next 15 years?
Have you seen the chart of what a dollar would buy you 100 years ago? See, everyone's like, oh, what's going to happen? We got to collapse. It's like, what do you call a loss of 98% of your purchasing power? It's just been a really slow collapse.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Mm-hmm. Will it ever be, do you think I can't remember what country, but I know there was some country that overnight it just was like.
Oh, that's several countries. I mean, it depends. But yeah.
Don't ask me. But.
No, it will continue. I don't know. This might be too much math for you, okay? I'm glad you're saying that. Let's say our GDP, we produce 2% more stuff, right? Okay, but we increase our money supply by 10%, right? Now, I'm no economist.
8%.
But I'm going to guess inflation is going to be 8%. You're going to have 8% less purchasing power. Yeah. It's a pretty simple math you could do. What was our real GDP growth? How much more money in M1 or M2 did we print off? Whichever measure you want to do. Take the difference. That's a tax. That's how much money you've lost in purchasing power.
So if you have $100, I'm curious, what percent do you think people should keep in dollars, Bitcoin, or investment?
Oh, it depends on how old you are and what you're like. If you're 65, you're going to be more fixed income. That's your classical financial planner type of stuff. Mm-hmm. Younger people, obviously, you're going to skew more towards equities. I advocated long ago. you can, especially young people, you could say, well, should I invest in cryptocurrency? Should I invest in silver? Should I invest in the S&P 500? Young people should invest in skills that appreciate with inflation. Mm-hmm. That's your biggest hedge against inflation. Dentists don't worry about inflation. They just raise the prices. CPAs don't worry about inflation. They just raise the prices. Mechanics, plumbers, all those guys, they just diversity and inclusion consultants, depending on whether you get your funding or not, you are hosed if the funding gets cut. Journalism majors, you're hosed. So
do you think these women's jobs will be cut then? Even
no, I think well, you're already seeing it happen. You got to be empirical. Texas just defunded DEI, so they laid off a bunch of people in academia. It will depend on the government. God. Yeah, thank God. It'll depend on the state or the government whether or not there's funding for it. I think corporations are starting to realize with the different, in general, woke stuff, it doesn't have to be female employment, but any kind of political bullshit, they're starting to realize that doesn't pay. So Disney hasn't changed their mind. They're just doubling down on everything. But Bud Light is turning around. Target is not going to stick pride in your face every June as much as it used to. I think we probably did hit peak DEI employment. Okay. I think that, and not that it's going to go away, but it's going to plateau, maybe go gradually down. But it's going to be with us for a while. And it probably, it's like HR. I don't know who came up with the idea of human resources. It's not necessary.
Women.
But, well, no, did they really? I don't know.
I don't know anyone that likes to tell people how to talk more than women.
Well, yeah, okay. But what is what are the origins of HR? I don't know, but it's still here.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been slowly eroding over time. People don't trust HR as much as they used to. They're outsourcing it. So I think that at one point, say in the 80s or 90s, HR was at its best. And now it's been slowly eroded because it doesn't serve any value or serves less value than it costs.
My roommate in college, she got an HR job right out of college, started making like $60K a year.
That's good.
Really good. Yeah. But she had trouble because she got a really big car lease. I know. I remember one time she was like late paying me rent or so. She was like complaining to me and I'm like, well, why did you get the new car? Like you had a car.
Math is hard. It's really hard.
No, but it was crazy. So why does my generation, like why are we so bad with money?
Your generation? Oh. Have you met the baby boomers where like a third of them they're not going to retire? What?
Oh, I don't know.
No, you guys don't have.
This is normal.
You guys don't have a monopoly on bad financial moves, okay? You.
I'm a millennial. I'm at the end of.
Okay, well, again, every American alive today.
Yeah.
You're not real Americans. You're just money spending, debt ridden.
Right.
Morons. No. That is, I could show you a ton of baby boomers' balance sheets where they have that classic car they always wanted and they got their boat and they have $300 in their bank account and they're living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah, that's, I don't think the poor financial management is strictly a Zoomer affair.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I guess people are really bad with money, huh?
I don't know. Did you see the $32 trillion national debt?
Well,
do you need to look at the student loan? They're still begging for a student, but the time they've all wasted begging for a student loan bailout, if they all got off their lazy asses and worked a second job, they'd have their student loans paid off by now. Most of them, anyway.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd have to do the numbers, but they've been complaining about for about a decade now.
Right.
You work the average balance student loan is $36,000. That's less than your brand new car, average brand new car. Mm-hmm. So $36,000, 10 years, you work a part-time job, you could have easily paid that off years ago. We're going to sit here and bitch and whine about it.
Right. Wow. You mentioned sex robots.
Yes.
Do you think that's really going to be a thing?
It already is a thing. You keep asking me, is it going to be inflated? Yes, it already is a thing.
I don't know anybody like with a sex robot.
How
common is it?
It hasn't gone pop. If you're saying, when's it going to boom? I don't know. Yes, they already exist. I don't think. That's why I think you should have FM on because TFM, Turd Flinging Monkey.
Okay.
very obscure. I think the sex robots is a very obscure thing. It will remain niche. I don't think it'll catch on because men want a real woman, generally speaking. I think what is a much bigger threat and already has been a bigger threat has been Prawn.
Oh, yeah.
Where guys like doing the calculus, like, okay, I got to go on a date with a girl 3 times. We're looking at 12 hours of labor, Lord knows how much money, or I can just jerk off to this over here in 5 minutes and play my video games and be done with it. I think that's the real competition that women are going to face in the sexual market. The sex robots, those are actually more not even for the sex; they're more for companionship and all that, a biophysiological presence there. I think the Japanese even have holograms now, like having another human, well, not a human being, having an AI human being or an entity there. Kind of like a dog has its favorite chew toy or a stuffed bear or whatever. It's more akin to that. But I think it will remain obscure and niche going in the future.
Do you think that how will it affect the economy if IVF becomes cheap and affordable?
Well, you'll have more kids, but I don't think women want that many kids because if women want to get pregnant, they go get pregnant. It's not that hard. And they can find a guy, and here's where they get a little picky and, who do I want? So you'd have a little bit of a bump in children, but to be perfectly honest, I think if you remove those people who have troubles, fertility issues, genuine fertility issues, like, oh, we need some help, versus those, it's a lifestyle choice, I can't find a man. You're going to have a couple more kids being born, but it's going to be born to careers, professional type of women, and they've made their choice in terms of what's important to them. It's their career, especially if you're going to have a kid without a dad around. So you're going to have one kid because they quote, want to have a kid, there's your check mark, and move on. So I don't think it'll be that much of a boom, and it'll be a little uptick, but nothing to seriously affect the economy.
What about hookers? Do you think there'll be an uptick in sex work to the point where you could get... I wonder sometimes if they'll make a Tinder, but for sex workers.
Well, wasn't that seeking arrangement?
Well, I guess. But don't you have to be rich to do that?
Yeah, well, you got to be rich to get prostitutes. They're not like free or nothing. It's like, here's your $2 prostitute. Doesn't sound like a good idea.
I guess I just wonder if like some of these jobs... Like, okay, so... Let's say they start cutting these like DEI jobs, right? So then we have a bunch of women, they don't have jobs anymore. Then we have an increase in single women. Well, women pick finding a husband or being a prostitute. From my anecdotal experience, women love being hookers.
I
don't know. It blew my mind because I always thought that I don't really know a lot of hookers before I started this.
Right.
But the more I spoke to, the more I realized they're not coerced into it. It's not a last resort. They love it. And so it makes me wonder if we get to the point where they have to start cutting a lot of these useless jobs, will we see an explosion in prostitutes?
Here's your define prostitution. And I hate to be so, because there's legit professional sex workers in Pahrump, Nevada. They're on a bunny ranch. You go there, you pay them money. There's negotiation, and I think they get benefits and things like that. It's a real business. What about the guy who talks to a girl and then pays for her flight and buys her groceries and helps her with the rent? Well, they're dating, but is that prostitution? What about the guy that gets married and loses half his assets? Is that prostitution?
Damn.
And there is an answer. Do you know what the answer is?
I feel like the answer is technically no. I don't know. Okay, tell me the answer.
Everything is prostitution. It's all prostitution. The percentage of relationships out there that are actually about love and liking the person is a minority. I'm not saying microscopically so, but it's a minority. The average guy who gets divorced paid, what do you call settlement and alimony? That is, in a sense, prostitution. Right, you paid a lot more on that than you would get in a regular or a high-end once a month. And the guys have done the math and the calculus. The guy that goes out and, I need help with rent. Oh, okay, I'll help you out, baby. It's prostitution. Now, when I worked at a bank, was that prostitution?
I would say no. But
It is prostitution. Everyone's a whore. Everyone's a John. Everyone. I got paid to do things I don't want to do. All right? So, the definition, I think you're going to see a lot of girls get into the gray area. I need help with my car payment. We say, well, isn't that technically from an economic standpoint, you give him sex and he helps you with your car payment? And then they act like, well, no, it's barter. So, that's love. But if it's cash, that's prostitution. It's like, no, it's cash or money. It's the same thing. What I think, using history as an example, when there was the great financial, the Great Recession, okay, in 2007 to about 2009, there were articles, I don't know if they've been expunged from the websites, but there was like an uptick in women who were like contemplating. Now, how they figured that out, I don't know. I know personally, anecdotally, some of my female friends were like, well, I'm having, gas is really expensive. I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess gas is really expensive. Well, if you want to like, oh, is that what you're suggesting? Oh, well, okay. But so if there was a no joke recession, there'd be an increase in women who would be amicable towards it. Mm-hmm. Overall, depending on how you define it, like if a girl is like, hey, if you help me with gas, I'd sleep with you. Oh, like a whore? It's probably not going to work then. I say, yeah, okay, that's fine, sure. Oh, yeah, I understand you're a single mom. You need help out, whatever, sure. Here, let me help you out. Let me help you and your kids. At the end of the day, it's prostitution, but whether they're going to call for it. So how many girls what do you call OnlyFans? Is that prostitution?
I think if I had to guess anecdotally, I think like 20% of women under 35 have done some kind of sex work. Well,
right. And okay, fine. But my point is that
it's all sort of sex work.
Yeah. And there's a huge gray as to how you want to define it. I wouldn't consider OnlyFans sex work. It's sex work, but I wouldn't call it prostitution. Because there's no actual sex going on.
Right.
So, how do you want to define it? And female shame would be involved in defining that. But I think you would, if there was a no-joke recession, you would see an increase in women looking to get some kind of material or financial benefit, either bills paid, things bought, or outright cash. You would see in exchange for sex. You would see an increase in that. It would be up to the man to finesse it and euphemistically call it something else. Mm-hmm. So so yes, in a way.
Can you tell me about your book, The Curse of the High
Oh,
IQ?
friend of mine, we were having a conversation and we were talking about how we never thought that we were all that smart in school, right? Mm-hmm. I was like a solid C- D+ student, and then we went to college. We got really good grades, and he was pointing out like, yeah, he got his IQ tested, and he never thought of himself as that smart, but he was like a 140 something. He's up there. Mm-hmm. And I was tested between like 131 to 139, somewhere in the 130s. He says, that means like we're freakishly rare. Like there's just, your top 2 or 1% or something like that. I have to look at the Bell distribution curve. And it wasn't until, and I had a math and stats, finance background, I know, but then I looked at the Z-score tables and the charts. I'm like, wait a minute, all these other people are, quote, dumber than me. And it was, I don't know why, but seeing the tail, I was like, wait a minute, there's a tremendous inefficiency here. Like I wasn't aware that how smart I was. Neither was my buddy. I don't think most people are, because it's arrogant and conceited. Like, oh, I'm so smart. Like that, you're kind of ashamed. You shouldn't do that. And you shouldn't. It's too arrogant and cocky. But at the end of the day, there's the test. And then I started thinking about economies, like your transportation system or the electrical grid. Things are made for the masses. They're not made for the minority, because you can't have a highway system that only helps people named Jim. All right, it's not going to work out. And I'm like, were there other instances where there are inefficiencies just as mentally impaired people? Like, let's say you're legit mentally retarded, you're like 68 IQ. They obviously have huge hurdles. Would there not be other hurdles of a different variety that super intelligent people face because they're divergent. And when I went and did the research, yeah, obviously there's a ton. There's social ramifications, romantic ramifications, career and education is probably the hardest one unless you get into a PhD program and NASA and like super high intelligent like type of research. So you would, and the short version of that is society cannot operate on excellence. It needs to operate on performance in some key areas. And so because you need to conform, not perform, smart people run into a bunch of social, financial, career, all these other type of hurdles that they may not be aware of. And so a classic example is like me. I thought I was dumb because I didn't get good grades. Because that's what and I come to find out, like, no, school sucks. It's a fucking prison. And truly intelligent kids, they just die in that environment.
Truly intelligent kids die in the education program.
Right. I mean, now, if you get into like an accelerated program, or if you have like a gifted and even gifted and talented, was just like, no, take the kid who's in the second grade and put him in the fifth. Get him there or her there, because that's the level that they're operating at. And they're not going to be bored because it's the same thing. They understand the concepts. The average kid might need.
So were you just bored?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, God, it was horrible. Just bored out of your mind. Yeah. And then you don't have any energy. You
do it because, but then wouldn't you get good grades?
I got good tests. Do you remember the standardized tests?
You didn't do homework.
I didn't do homework. School was horrible. But when you sat me down in front of those standardized tests that they make all the kids take, I'd ace all the math, and then the English and history, I just like C- work again because it's not really something you test. It's just did you memorize dates? Math was logic, intelligence, reasoning, follow through, and all that other stuff. So, but you don't know that. You're like, well. My parents would get half. Oh my God, look, you did so. And then they use it. You could try better in school. It's like, no, the math is easy. Doing good in school has nothing to do with intelligence or effort. Well, I mean, it does have to do with effort too. But for a smart kid that's stuck at the glacial speed at their elementary school teachers and intellectual capacity, like.
So they should have put you in that makes sense. But don't they have cases where they let them skip a grade or something?
Yeah, but you got to be a straight A student. See, you got to get good grades. You can't just skip grades.
The education system, it went more female in a way. Because women tend to show up on time and they tend to do
conformance, not performance.
And they do more of the homework stuff. So I heard it switched in the 80s or around there.
Maybe.
I could be off by 10 years or something, but. And it benefited women more because it included things that don't really matter, like homework and attendance.
Yeah, but did it benefit girls more? I mean, good. You're really good at school. The real world is in school.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in the education system.
Right. Girls, I think, still to this day get better scores than men.
Yeah, they do.
Or boys. Yeah. There's no doubt about that.
And they added in writing to the ACT.
Yeah. Okay. Good. You wrote really well. You're a really good obeyer. Congratulations. You follow the rules. That's great.
Yeah.
You don't annoy your teacher. Boys are not cut out that way. Yeah.
Right.
But then, and this isn't to separate between men and women, but intelligent girls are going to face the same thing. If they're really smart, they're going to get bored too. So it wasn't written for men or women, but just smart people in general.
I wonder why they don't let you specialize in things you're interested in early on. I don't know how you feel about that, but personally, I think it would. In Europe, I know they let you, if you're really good at say math at 12, you can start to specialize in math from a younger age. Me, I really liked history, so I don't know that route, but I don't know. Do you think that would be helpful or no?
Yeah,
you need basics.
Yes, you need to stop it with this. You're what age? You go to this grade. No.
Yeah.
You're what skill level? The goal should be to get the smart kids out as quickly as possible.
Right.
Almost even self-study. Can you learn this on YouTube? Go at home. Fine. Boom. You're done. Frankly, we don't need high school. Then you have extra resources. You could save money and still have some extra resources for kids who actually need it, who are not as smart, who are a little bit slower, or just have some kind of learning issue or problem. And so all you're doing is you're holding the smart kids hostage. The dumb kids aren't having a grand time either themselves. They might feel a little bit bad because Jimmy got better grades and they keep getting bad grades or something like that. So, but it really is. You could say, okay, can you test, which correlates with intelligence, but isn't necessarily that. Can we get you out of here? And by the end of your 8th grade, give you a skill where you're like, okay, you go into the trades, or maybe you look at college, become an accountant or engineer. There's no reason we can't be shipping kids off 14, 15 years old into college nowadays. And then, okay, we got some kids who, if they don't learn a basic skill, they're going to be on the welfare state or drag on society. So let's focus on them. So yes, there is ways, but you need parents who are very active. There was an article, a young gal in Alabama, 17, and she got her master's degree. Her old man was on her, like married family. He's like, and because you just don't do that as a kid. You have to have parents pushing you. And so her folks.
Was she homeschooled?
I don't know.
How did that happen?
Well, she had to be homeschooled at a little bit because, okay, let's say you're in school, but how do you get your college course and college credits? So there had to be some homeschooling going on. But now she's obviously very high IQ and she's an exception. But why don't we see that more often? There are kids out there with IQs 130 plus that could be out with a college degree by 17 and completely employable. But the reason we don't do that, one, and not to sound too cynical, most parents don't love their kids that much to take that much of vested interest in them. They send kids to daycare because that's what the public schools largely are. Mommy needs to work. Daddy needs to work. We need an SUV. You need to go to the school, and maybe we help with your homework or not. There's that. And the teachers are not exceptional people. They're very average. They're very common. They chose teaching generally because they're lazy and they want to have summers off. And that work ethic shows. They're not going to... Your average 3rd grade teacher does not have the intelligence or the work ethic to identify, take, mold, and send a wunderkind on the right track. They got their criteria, they got the curriculum. It's largely up to the parents to say, yeah, my kid's smarter than that. We're getting them out of there and send him down that track. But the motives and the incentives are all wrong. Parents want free daycare. Teachers want an easy check with summers off. Kids suffer more or less.
My sister's the one that's watching all these kids. She's right out of high school.
Yeah.
They always say that a mother is like the hardest job on the planet. And I'm not saying it's easy, but my sister's able to do it with no skills right out of high school. So
yeah, no, it's
she
not.
She watches like 10 of your kids at a time.
Yeah,
so.
Well, I
sends me selfies with them,
Yeah, I don't know. I've had a bunch of kids hanging around. I'm like, just do what as I say. It doesn't seem that hard to me, but.
Okay, but the incentive structures are off. And so the challenges that really smart people get, especially boys, because they're nonconformant, is they get bored.
Right.
And then they're not rewarded in the school system, which really it should all be testing now that I think about it. Like, what's the point of having like extra attendance scores? If you can figure it out without going to class.
Let me give you, in addition to the population doesn't matter, let me give you another thing. In the day of the internet, do you think we even need teachers in schools anymore?
No.
You can teach, the first thing you should be teaching kids is autodidactism, I believe is the word. Self-teaching. All the information is out there for free. To the point, I've even pontificated about a theory that having you have to go to school and certainly paying for tuition is somehow a violation of right to knowledge. Like there should be a right to knowledge or a right to free education where it doesn't matter how you get the education. If you have the knowledge, it cannot be discriminated against. And so especially with the internet, now I understand, okay, kindergarten, kids got to learn his ABCs, hey, mom, dad, don't go, okay, fine. And then, okay, your colors.
Everything I've learned on YouTube was literally from the internet.
Right.
Everything.
And kids will learn stuff from the internet. But what I'm saying is at a certain point in time, like maybe the 3rd or 4th grade, kids should be able like, this is a book. Here's how you read.
Right.
And none of this, well, Jimmy has a learning disability. No, he has crappy parents. Get on him, And if Jimmy really does have an issue, fine. We'll deal with that later. But no, we have mostly lazy parents.
Right.
You could have these kids going at their own rate, saving trillions over the years of property taxes for schools that we no longer need, and probably with better educational results than having a bunch of lackadaisical, generally disinterested teachers who it's a check, that kind of thing.
Well, and you see the clips coming out of these teachers fucking the boys.
Well, okay, there's 3 million teachers in the United States. It's not.
I see like a new story every other week. I'm like, God damn.
It's very sensational. Yes, it's wrong. Yeah.
I'm like, what is wrong with you people?
Yeah. Teachers aren't. I'm not a fan of teachers.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of teachers.
My brother wouldn't date him. I remember in college, he's like, I went on this date and she was so hot. Hannah, that's my first name. She was so hot. But God, she was so stupid. I cannot date these education. He's about to marry a chick that's going to be an engineer.
Good. There you go. That's the ticket. Yeah.
He could not deal with these like dumb women.
Yeah. No, I got an accountant, so it's yeah, but you can't, and go look at IQ by major. Teachers are early childhood education is the lowest, and then elementary or regular, it depends.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're on the bottom third, bottom quartile.
Wow.
Even, yeah. You don't have you definitely do not have your smartest people teaching the kids.
I'm so curious, where do music majors fall?
Oh God, dead last. I mean, they're down. I mean, they're not early child. You look it up, and it depends on your source. There's different polls, and I'm sure different ways they test, but it's nothing that you wouldn't expect. Look, if it didn't take math and it didn't take any rigor, lower IQ, and we're not, by the way, the average IQ of early childhood education major, I think, is 103. 100, you're still smarter than the average person. Mm-hmm. You're still going to college, but barely. Mm-hmm. And then like your astrophysicists are up there with like 140 something. They're just off. So
you could have been weren't you close to? You could have been an
nuclear physicist. Yeah. I was thinking about becoming a nuclear engineer, and there's a piece of me that. It probably paid off not to do it because they're decommissioning and but yeah, I really enjoyed physics. I really enjoyed it. But now I'm an internet podcasting person.
But so when people have really high IQs, the issue is society conforms to people with like low IQ.
Not low,
or average.
And it's not. There's no pejorative or negative connotation in low IQ or high IQ, just as there's no compliment. It's an issue of efficiency. Mm-hmm. Your society has to be built around the average person's intelligence. Right. So I'm trying to think of an example.
What about tradesmen? Where are they in terms of IQ?
The ones I deal with are like negative. They're really stupid people. The tradesmen are they're lazy. Mm-hmm. I have not seen any data testing tradesmen, but I gotta imagine they're higher than average because a lot of that stuff requires some math, a lot of geometry, trigonometry, common sense. Whether they're sober or not, whether they know how to finish a job or they have maturity to like, I'll do 98% of the job and just mess up the last 2%, rendering the whole project pointless. That's another issue. But yes, I would guess they're higher than average because the math involved in precision.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but is the job market similar to the education system where they punish people with high IQ?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. No, that's where you're going to run into the trouble. I didn't think this was true, but they used to say, "Oh, your bosses are intimidated by you." I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. No, they're not. Why they're the boss? Why don't they hire me? Why don't they give me more projects? Why don't they? Again, big problem of high IQ people. You overthink. You think, why would they do that? Doesn't make any sense. The amount of petty, vindictive people in the world. Like, there are people who worry, like, this kid's going to outshine me. Things that even to this day I don't understand. The gray chart story is in banking. Mm-hmm. I made a chart. It was something important where it proved like, hey, this is not going to pay off. We got to stop. And you know what my boss complained about? The color of gray. He didn't like the shading of the gray in the chart. I'm like, did you see the number? What? And one thing that smart people have a problem understanding is just how many stupid people there are. But it's not stupid. Let's say you got your average person, right? Okay. IQ of 100. And then you have someone who's legitimately mentally retarded. 70 IQ. Can't wipe their ass. I mean, really, can't function. So you're talking 2 standard deviations, 15, 30 points down from 100 to 70. Now take someone with an IQ of 130. Mm-hmm. You look at someone with an IQ of 100. Because you're in society, you think, well, that person is normal. That's just a normal person. They do normal things. They talk English like I do and whatever else. So There's no differentiation between them. But then when you they can function as a normal human being, and they're the majority of the population. But when you interact with them on some key things, like here's a chart showing the crisis. Oh, geez, you need to do this. I'm sure doctors have a problem with this, where the doctor is brilliant. And you're like, you need to lose weight or you're going to die. And they don't understand why they don't lose weight. You have to understand, being 130, looking at an average person is the same thing as the average person looking at someone who is actually functionally mentally retarded.
Wow.
You just don't realize it because they're functioning normally. It's in a normal society. But, you know, like your brother who went out with the teacher major, I guarantee you if he got tested, he's 130 plus, and the teacher's like 104, 105. So, and then he's like, oh my, people who could talk about the girly shows or did you watch the latest soap opera? Guys who watch sports, get excited about it. You go to the bar.
I don't think my brother watches sports.
Right.
I'm thinking about it.
If you show me a man with a jersey, a sports jersey with another man's name on it, I'll show you a guy with a 102 IQ who doesn't understand philosophical things like stoicism, you know, but not that they should. It's just, I can't associate with, I don't hate the guy, but do you want to sit and watch two people throw a ball at each other for 3 hours? No.
My dad. I mean, they'll watch like the Super Bowl if it's like a big game, but none of them really are that into.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and some people like sports, but if you get to the point you're throwing a controller through a screen TV because some guy who doesn't know your name didn't catch the funny ball and run it past the line. You know, it's like Jeff Foxworthy's You Might Be a Redneck. You're like, you might have a low IQ. You know, we could do a whole comedy routine on it.
But it's not really like good or bad. It's just it is.
No, it is what it is. It's not. If you like football, you like football. If you get emotionally invested, you get emotionally invested. If you go too far away from that, the guy with Down syndrome don't get it, and the super high IQ nuclear physicists don't get it either.
And so do you think that's why? Because some of the trad I just find that they like, it's like I'll be like stat, but it's like they don't. It almost doesn't compute. You know, there's not a lot of wives, marriage is disappearing, and I'm like, no, look at these numbers. I think this is real, but you know, they'll just say pray every day. Do you think that's like a low IQ thing?
It's human.
Okay.
They're emotional.
Oh,
I'm not even in a bad way either.
Because it's their emotions invested in their religion.
Yes, they're also religious.
Yeah.
They also are human. One of my flaws is I'm very inhuman. Okay. I can look at it. Yeah, you're fat. That's why you're not finding a guy. I have no problems. None. Because I just didn't have the time when I was younger. Like, you know, one girl, this one gal, she had a crush on me. One of the few girls to build up the courage to ask me out. And she was like, oh, would you want to go out? And I remember I was like, no. And she's just, why not? I'm like, because you want to have sex. I'll do other things. I'm like, no, I want to have sex. So since I knew she was religious, she wouldn't have sex. I can do that. Most people can't. Right. They have a soul. They have a heart. Okay, they love their wives. They love their God. They love their religion. They like to think Dennis Prager is an incredibly soulful person.
Right.
He very much cares. He probably did make one of the best dads ever.
Yeah.
He's not a great empiricist or economist. He might be a good economist, but these people, you can't fault them.
Yeah.
Because they love people. There's nothing wrong with that, except for their recommendations.
What do you mean he's not a good economist? I don't watch his stuff too much.
He is. I misspoke. He's not a good empiricist. I love telling uncomfortable truths because I was lied to so much of my life.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
And everyone that we're so popular. I hate popular people because they all promoted the lie. And that was the value system. Before you get into the real world, the value system is popularity. And the popular kids typically were lying, scheming assholes. And it still continues to this day.
Right.
Like, I got my boat, I got this. And no, you just got debt. And because I'm an economist or studied it and you're looking at this horrific shit that's coming our way that's going to have a horrific effect on everyone. I come in and try and warn people about it. I just got more flack, especially in banking. And now I love making people uncomfortable. I love pissing them off. And whereas beforehand, I'm like, oh, aren't you concerned about this? This is very serious. And threatening to get fired. No. It's war. And I love it when people make mistakes. I love it when they get overweight. So I have no problem. That's why it's called asshole consulting, not nice guy consulting. And there's a market for it. There's people that desperately need the truth. Things have gotten so bad in their life, they might listen to constructive criticism. But on the contrast side, then you got like Oprah, which is just touchy, good, feel good lies all the time. Dude, that's been done to death. It's done with it. So I have no problem pointing out things like IQ. I have no problem pointing out whatever inconvenient facts or, your .com isn't worth $10,000 or any other pretty lie you want to believe. Like a big is beautiful. Like guys are going to like you for your personality and other stuff like that. Because it's just, I don't know, life is almost too short.
Yeah.
But there is economic ramifications for constantly lying. And so the patience for lies and kind of tending to the normies and protecting their fifis. No, I don't have time. No.
I hope someday you would out debate so many people. I could just see it.
Do you know why I would out debate?
Because you're smarter than them.
No.
Go ahead.
Because I'm empirical. I don't have an opinion.
Oh, okay.
I would just go get all the data and the information.
Right.
And then let's say I got all we're debating, does X exist? And I go and I say, I don't think X exists. And they say, oh, no, X exists. And I go do my research. I found, looks like X doesn't exist. I wouldn't argue with them. I say, yeah, it looks like you were right and I was wrong. But yeah, it's I don't really have debates. I have information and research, and it's up to you to like kind of disprove that.
You said in one of your streams that the people that we think are rich are not generally rich,
Right.
and that is it true that teachers is one of the most common millionaires?
Yes, because of their pensions.
Oh.
And yeah, they're not. If you stick it now, that may be changing because they've switched from defined benefit to defined contribution, going from pensions to 403Bs and 457s. So, but yeah, that's one of the more common ones. I think I know actually a couple teachers in the generation before me, and they're well-to-do. I don't know if they're millionaires, but they good pension and good savings. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you said it was accounting, engineers, teachers, and I can't remember the fourth one. Do you remember that stream?
Oh,
it was
gosh,
really funny. You were giving female dating advice.
Oh,
like women, you're selecting for the wrong things.
You girls couldn't pick a genuine rich man if the man had bags of money. You could set a guy who bought a Lamborghini in front of a guy with a bag of money and like, okay, who's the rich guy? They'll go with the Lamborghini. I'm like, he has no money. He spent it all on the car. That guy has money. Why don't you see the money? You only see the stuff.
No, that's it's so funny. My dad, he had a software company with like two. He did really well, really. And he drove in like a beat up. It literally looked like a pedophile van for years. Literally, like it looked like one of those like candy,
Yeah. You never see your kid again. Sure.
Dad, it's so funny. He got like a nice car, and then he just bought a Honda Civic. He's like, I'm sick of paying for the gas on this car.
I have never had a fancy car.
Yeah,
I never have, and it's transportation. It's transportation, and like I was talking about that dentist before, the shoe salesman. No, I was talking to Jeremiah. The most legit rich guy I ever met in my banking, he was a shoe store owner. And then there was a dentist who was rather well off too. But these are not sexy, flashy people, and you wouldn't know it because just looked like he got his clothes at Goodwill.
Yeah. No, that's what I've found. Like most, unless it's first generation wealth, which is like maybe Bitcoin or like someone who got rich quick, but they made enough money that it'll last.
Yeah.
You meet those occasionally, but I find that like wealthy people really don't show off their wealth.
No, if you had to work for it.
Yeah. It
took so much effort, labor, sacrifice. You're not going to give it up. And you sure the hell in the United States aren't going to like advertise it so you can get sued. So a lot of people get trust and set up things like that. And so I know, and they're not wrong. Women aren't wrong to want a man who's financially stable. Of course, you don't want a not financially stable man. But oh my gosh, girls, there is an entire course on how to go find a financially stable man, but not a single girl's going to sign up for it. They're just not going to be interested in it. So.
They'd rather get the car.
They want to. They conflate, they confuse stuff with wealth.
Okay.
Yeah. if a guy says, "Yeah, I got a fully funded 401k," and then some douche canoe shows up on a boat, boats are horrible. Like if you see a guy with a boat, he's poor. Don't go with the guy with the boat. That's not no.
The fully funded 401k.
I know it's boring. I know accountants are nerdy. I know engineers. Oh, just Squaresville. Yeah, well, they're the ones that you're not going to starve. We're like, oh, how are we going to pay the mortgage? I guess I got to go and pull tricks on seeking arrangement or something.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. I quote your book all the time, like on every other show I'm on.
How's that working for you?
Okay, well, I get better at quoting it every time,
Yeah, but they don't listen, so it's like, yeah.
It's gotta be frustrating, right?
No,
you've been doing it longer than me.
After a while, you just don't care. That's where the pain, enjoying other people's pain ends up becoming a joy. You shouldn't become a single mom. You tell me how to live my life. Fine, go become one. I don't care. Hey, look, 20 years later, how's it going? How's you not fully funded 401k? You don't even have one. All right.
Well, where can the people find you? Where can they get... Guys, seriously, I'm going to give my recommendation. Easiest read. And if you want to dunk on feminists, you can literally just get this book.
You could search Aaron Cleary on Amazon. I have 10 books. The most popular ones are the ones we've been talking about, A World Without Men, and then the Book of Numbers, Analyzing the ROI and the Pursuit of Women. There are other books, economically, generally philosophically themed, if you want to do that. Like one maybe for your audience would be How Not to Become a Millennial, because you skew younger. That might be one of interest to them.
What does that talk about?
It's all the lies that the baby boomers told the millennials and the consequences that the millennials suffered, and then how to get out of that or to avoid it as a younger generation. Oh,
so it's. I order that. That
sounds good. If you want, it's on Audible if you don't want to read a 500-page book. If you need to contact me for a consultation, or I run a company called Asshole Consulting. Go to assholeconsulting.com. And then YouTube, just search me there, where I do most of my consultations. It's like a Dear Abby. They send in a question and I answer it on YouTube, but I also have podcasts and things on YouTube, or I just spew whatever I want to talk about. And that's about it. Those are the main places you can catch me in. Oh, and then I apologize. I also have courses largely financially related, like How to Stop Being Lazy, The Dad You Never Had, and Achieving Financial Excellence. That's all offered through Teachable. So if you don't like reading books, but you want to get your financial act together, you can find that stuff there.
Yeah, guys, I watch his streams all the time. It's really funny. He goes in. My favorite one is female dating advice. That's like my favorite
those
one.
Are very popular. No one listens to it, but they're very popular.
They're so funny. Okay, guys, make sure you like the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell, and let me know who you want to see on next time on the Sit Down. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.